Hi, my name is Stephanie and I'm with Robbins Plumbing, and today I want to talk to you about grease in your drain lines. There is a myth going around, and I know this because I talk to my clients, that you can put grease down your line if you follow it with hot water or soap. And I want to be here to tell you that those simply are not true. 22 years doing this and over 200,000 calls under my belt. I can't tell you how many stoppages I've seen that were caused by grease, and then they were not stopped by hot water or soap. What happens when you follow grease with hot water? You make the situation worse. All you've done at this point is make the grease hotter for a longer period of time. So rather than having a grease stoppage that's just underneath your kitchen sink, you've spread it at that point out to the line going into your wall and underneath the floor, out into your main line. And what started out as 2 feet of surface area has now quickly become 50 feet. And this happens over time. It layers and layers because you think you're safe, but you're not. Grease does not just go away. Grease doesn't mix with water, and it certainly doesn't go with your drain system. And the other myth that you can follow it with soap, and that is okay and safe, is absolutely false. So I want you to think about washing a pan that has grease in it. You cannot get it clean with just soap and water. It takes a sponge, it takes some elbow grease. The same is true of your drain line. It doesn't just disappear because you put hot soapy water behind that grease. That grease becomes a magnet to every food particle and everything that's in there. It builds over time and creates a huge stoppage that can't be cleared with just a cable. So now that we have the facts down, that you cannot put grease down your line safely ever, let's talk about ways that you can use grease rather than putting it down your line. Bacon grease is one of the most common that we see going down a line that creates that stoppage. But there are a ton of useful ways that you can use grease rather than putting it down your line or throwing it away. So bacon grease specifically, and if you like bacon, you know you have bacon grease, it's inevitable. So some things that you can do with it that are kind of cool. One, you can season your cast iron. I think that's cool. You can make fried potatoes with it. You can make your eggs with it. You can make tortillas with it. There's like a whole list. If you get creative and go on Google or go on Pinterest, I promise you that you'll have your creative taste buds going nuts and you're like, how did I ever put my bacon grease down the sink? Because you'll have 100 ways to use it in your home. As far as frying grease, so if you're making fried chicken or you're frying something and that's gonna be in a high point grease like canola oil or something like that, there's only so much you can do with it until it reaches its burn point. But there are very cool filters on the market. They're called a grease separator. These are available on Amazon. You can get them from your local hardware store, but they'll separate the cooked food from your grease, allowing you to use it a couple times. This is also how you can clean bacon grease, so you're able to store it clean and without bacon particles in it. So after your grease has become where it's beyond its usable point and it's ready to discard, there are some safe ways to do this that don't involve your plumbing system. One of my favorites is a metal puff can. I like metal specifically because even if the grease is a little hot still, it's not something you have to worry about melting. And you can keep storing it and keep putting grease in there until it's full. Put the lid on, but don't just throw it away like that. If that lid pops off in your dumpster, you've got a hot, greasy mess. So make sure to wrap it still in a trash bag, tie that off, make sure you have a sealed container. But another cool way that you can store grease for disposal in the trash can is a milk jug. It's got a screw top, super awesome. You just really have to make sure that it's cool. Very, very cool. If you put it in there warm at all, that milk jug is super thin. It's gonna melt. You're gonna have a hot, greasy mess. You're gonna be mad at me. But I warned you, make sure it's cool. So then the other thing is that little bit of grease that's on your plates, it's in your pans, you don't think it's a big deal, and you pop it in your dishwasher. It's a big deal. Your dishwasher and your disposal aren't meant to have grease in them. So when you put those dishes in your dishwasher and you expect just magic to happen and it's not that much, it clogs up the filters, clogs up the screens, gets into that disposal, puts grease all over the mechanical components within your disposal, and you're going to shorten the lifespan of your dishwasher and your disposal. So my point, don't put grease in your plumbing system. Just don't do it. If you do have a grease stoppage, it cannot be cleared by normal means, meaning a drain machine and a cable. So I want you to think about peanut butter. In a jar of peanut butter, if you put the knife in there and you pull the knife out, even if you spin it around, when you come back an hour later, you cannot tell that that knife was in there before. The very same thing is true of a grease stoppage in your drain system. That cable goes in there and it will temporarily pop a hole through there. So you'll hear that swish, things will go down, but inevitably that grease will remold and resettle, remelt back into the position it was in, just like that peanut butter, and you still have the stoppage. So the only way to get a grease stoppage cleared permanently is with specialized equipment called a jetter. And what a jetter does, it's high pressured water that's at the exact PSI that's required to get the pipe clean but not damage the plumbing. So it has, at the end, it goes towards the sides instead of just straight forward, and it's going to wash off the sides of your pipe. It has a ton of pressure that just pushes all that grease out. It's going to push it out of your kitchen line. If your washing machine line is tied into your kitchen, which a lot of homes in Phoenix are, it's going to clean all of that out too, going out to the main line and clearing that out, getting it to the city. But you don't want to go through that again. So that's why those preventative steps of not putting grease down the line are so important. But if you do have a grease stoppage, by all means, you should absolutely give us a call. We can jet the line and have it practically like new again and have you back up and running. And you can reach us at 623-486-4657, or you can easily and conveniently schedule on our website at robinsplumbing.com.